Hello, and welcome to Jenny Ray Art. Today we're going to be talking about the Japanese art of Kintsugi. This is where they take broken pottery and they repair it using gold. The philosophy behind it being that while the original pot was lovely, now that it has been broken and repaired through this process, it is even more beautiful and actually perfect in its uniqueness. And my series is going to be relating this to people and how we can go through traumatic events that can make us feel broken, but once we get through it, we are even more beautiful and perfect. I'll be using Bristol board. I'm also going to be using a variety of art pens. So we have here, oops, this guy needs to go over here with the others like him. So I have Posca pens, which are acrylic paint pens. We have these Op D, also acrylic art pens, and then we have Artist Loft, which are actually an alcohol-based ink. So Bristol board, along with other art paper, for some reason doesn't come in sizes that are in the standard frame sizes. This came in a 9x12 size. I measured it down to an 8x10, which is a standard frame size. So I recommend, to make it easier on yourself and for whoever you're going to be giving or selling this to create your art pieces in a size that is compatible with standard frame sizes. So you're not having to go and get it custom framed. So here I am using a 4H pencil to start off with a very light sketch and figure out where I want the different elements of my art piece. I am drawing out, you can't see it here because it is so very light, but that's the point of a 4H pencil, is that the lead is so light that when you erase it, it's like it never even happened. Realized that I drew her hair just a little bit too big, because you want to have at least 1/4 of an inch around your main picture for when you are going to frame it, and it's not going to get covered up by the actual frame or a mat if you're going to put a mat around it. Made me a little bit sad because in my original sketch that I went off of this, she had a much bigger, bolder hairstyle that I loved, but I think this still looks nice. Now here I'm going to be adding in the Japanese characters for Kintsugi, and I'm sketching them out from a printout that I got from online so that I can make sure that I can do this accurately. As with sketching with people, I wanted to make sure that this was accurate because I know that in their language the way that it looks is very specific, that I didn't want to, quote, misspell, unquote, the Japanese characters, so I was very careful with how I sketched these out and making sure that even the negative space between the lines matched up with what I was seeing on my paper there. Making sure that all of them are about the same size. I'm using my little pencil to measure it, and they are approximately the same size, so I'm pretty happy with how those turned out. Now moving on to the text I'm going to have below the woman. Each one of the pieces is going to have a different phrase, but all about being broken, but how we are better for it. For her, I'm doing broken but stronger. Now, I've learned that I am not a typographer, as you can see in my previous video. So what I did was I printed this out on paper using a font that I really liked, that I thought actually looks pretty close to the Japanese calligraphy of the characters. Now, how I'm going to transfer this onto the paper is a tried and true method that you may already be familiar with. So I'm going to take an ebony pencil, which is a very dark leaded pencil. And I'm going to color on the opposite side of the page of where the text is. I'm going to cover over everything there, make sure I get good coverage over all of it. And now I'm going to place it very carefully on the page where I want the letters to be, and I'm going to hold it down. Now if you're a little nervous about the paper moving while you're tracing over it, you can use a little bit of tape, but just make sure that you put it lightly so when you don't pull up the tape you're not going to be ripping your art paper. I'm just going to outline every letter there, and I'm going to hold it down and lift up the edge just so I can double check to make sure that I didn't miss any spots, that it looks good. Yep, it's all on there. I'm happy. Now I can work on actually inking the piece. Starting off with the Artist Loft alcohol-based ink markers, and this is my first time using these pens, and I was very nervous about using them, but it turned out really well. They layer really nicely. I mean, it starts off looking kind of streaky, but I found that you can really build up the color nicely, and you can blend one color on top of each other, which is actually exactly what I did to get the skin tone that I wanted for this woman. As you can see here, I'm using a different shade to blend it in and give her a bit more of a warmer color, because the other one was looking a little ashen, and I wanted it to look a little more warm toned. You can also use these inks to build up where you want to have shadows and highlights. And also really nice about this is that even though I was putting on lots of different layers of this ink, it wasn't ripping up the page. It wasn't making it ball up and get soggy like paint pens can do. If you try to layer those too much, they can start to tear up the page. Using the pen to fill in her lips, and then I pulled in a lighter pen that I wasn't originally thinking I was going to use, but I wanted to do that to highlight her lower lip, and filling in the little corners of her eyes, again using a blending of that lighter pen and the more reddish pen. And now I started working on the eyes and really trying to blend in and layer and put in some shadows so that the top part of the iris is a little bit darker than the bottom part, and there's a little bit more color in that bottom part. And in the eye here on the left, technically her right eye, I messed up right there on the shine in her eye and accidentally covered over part of it, but that is okay because I have a white acrylic paint pen that I will use to fix that later. Thank God for white acrylic paint pens. Now I started off using the dark brown acrylic paint pen on the shadowed part of her hair. But then I changed it, realizing that no, I wanted her hair to look even darker than that. I needed to use a black instead to put in the shadowed parts, and then I'll use that dark brown and the rest of her hair. and now I'm going to give her her eyeliner and some lashes. And filling in the pupils on her eyes. I kind of debated about that because I actually kind of like the gradient color that was in the eyes. And I know that some anime art will leave out the pupils, they'll just put in that gradient color. But I decided to go ahead and go a little bit more realistic and put the pupils in. So here we go with the rescue of the white pen. Gonna go ahead and do both sides just for consistency. Finally adding in the gold of the Kintsugi process in the areas where she has been broken and repaired. Doing the final outlines. And now I am using my, eraser to get rid of all the little fine lines, doing some last little touch-ups here and there. I'm getting close to finally being happy with it. At a certain point I have to just stop myself from tinkering, because I could tinker and tinker and tinker until I ruin it. I think it's good now. Time to sign it. Come on, girl. Stop nitpicking. It looks good. Sign it. You see how anal I can get about these things? I'm trying to get better about it. I really am. Okay, come on. This is it. This is the moment. Here we go. Yes. My final piece. First in the series for the Kintsugi series. Broken but stronger. Thank you so much for watching. Please like it and subscribe to get more videos in the future. Have a great day.